Hey, Jen here with Counseling You into Adulthood, and today we're going to talk about the tools that I suggest you have when you are living on your own, whether it's in an apartment or your own house. Of course, if you have your own place that you own, you definitely need more tools than if you have a place you're renting, because when you own your own place, you are obligated to take care of things when they break, versus if you rent, that's of course the biggest perk is you just call up your landlord and you say, hey, this broke, please come and fix it, right? So today we're going to talk about what I have in my tool bag. Even though we own a house, I do tend to go and help other friends. And so I've got myself my handy dandy little bag that opens up, and I've dumped everything out on my counter here. So I'm going to show you what I keep in my bag. And almost everything fits except the very big things. So the first thing I want to show you is my favorite tool because I tend to use it everywhere I go. And that is my drill. It's just what I'd call like a mid-level drill. It's Black & Decker, mid-level meaning the brand is mid-level. You can see that there. This is by no means sponsored by Black & Decker, but we have many Black & Decker tools. And the cool thing is that all of the 20-volt tools that we have use this exact same battery pack. And so now we have probably 8 or 10 of these, and all of the chargers, which are nice and tiny like this, fit all of the same battery packs. So, you know, they're interchangeable, which is really handy for when I want to run out. You know, if I know I'm going to be going to a friend's house and I want to grab a couple of these, I know I have lots of them, or I can grab 8 of them and we always keep them charged. So that's one thing I like, is they're reasonably priced. It's not a DeWalt, which is much more top of the line, but it's really handy. I've had this one a really long time and it's lasting me. And it does the job. Like if I need to hang something, or if we're even hanging drywall, you know, some bigger projects like that, this will do the job. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's super easy. You just slide the batteries off and on here, and they just click on, and then you just squeeze this to take them off and charge them on the, you just charge them on a regular outlet by sliding this on, plugging it in, and it tells you when it's ready to go. So this is something I would highly suggest you getting. If you do decide to get any sort of drill like this, what you're really going to be looking for is the voltage. Okay, this is a 20 volt, like I said, and that refers to the amount of power in the battery, really. You know, how much power is going to come out of your device. The lower the power, the less amount of oomph that you're going to get out of your device, okay? Which means if you're trying to do things like drill a lot of holes, or, you know, hang a lot of pictures or things like that, it's going to probably take you a lot more batteries, a lot more power. It's going to take a lot more of your physical effort shoving into the wall. So, but the cool thing about these tools is they can do a lot of stuff. So if you hold on to the tool at the base here and spin here, I can take this out. And these are interchangeable. You can put a lot of different things in here. So if you can see, this is just a Phillips head. I actually keep, these are DeWalt, because I do know that, you know, DeWalt makes good products, but I like to keep just a pack of, I don't know if there's 10 or 15 of these. I keep these in my bag because I know that A, I tend to lose them, and B, they will break eventually over time, or not really break, but they lose their pointiness. So I keep some of those in my bag. Also, I think when I actually bought this, I got this cool little set, which over the years has come to gain and lose items. But as you can see, it's got different bits that are all, you know, they're going to be the same size as that Phillips head, but they're going to have different types of heads on them. So this is a hex, and there's different hex of different sizes. We've got a Phillips head here of different sizes. And then we've also got ones with longer bases so that you don't have to use this if you don't want. So you can see like this one's very long versus this one is much shorter. So I think, like I said, this came with my tool set when I bought it. So that's something I also keep with me. The other thing I actually just invested in, because we go through drill bits pretty quickly around here because of just lots of projects. This is a DeWalt titanium set. There's different types of metals out there. Titanium is a much better metal, but this is a set of drill bits. So if you need to make holes anywhere, like in walls or in wood, this is what you need. And the cool thing is you're just gonna pop one of these out, whichever size you think you need. You're going to spin open this hole big enough so that I can take one of these, tighten it up, and now instead of, you know, using maybe a Phillips head screwdriver type thing, now I can, if I had my battery on there, now I can drill a hole with it. Okay, so multi-tool here, very handy to use. So this is something I don't leave home without in my tool bag. Okay, and one thing I would say, which my husband and I are notoriously bad about, put your tools back in your toolkits, because otherwise things go missing and then you inevitably decide you need something and it's not there when you need it. So put it back right away and then that problem doesn't happen. Like here, I forgot to put this back. So I'm gonna put that back on it right away. Okay, so that is my drill. And there's so many different drills out there. So do your research, figure out what you need. You don't have to have top of the line right away. You know, maybe you even get a hand-me-down to start with. But I would recommend getting a battery operated one over a corded one, just because if you are working somewhere where you don't have power, or, you know, if you don't want to have a long cord, things like that, it just gives you a lot more freedom. Okay, next thing I have, just regular old tape measure. Okay, I hope it's, you know, just a given that this is something everybody would have in their toolbox, in their tool bag, whatever you want to call it. But this is something I think everybody should have. I think 25 feet is kind of a good standard size to have. Anything less than that, and depending on the size of room you're in, it might not be big enough for you. So that is a good size. Okay. Then if you've watched one of my other videos, a stud finder is actually something super handy if you are ever hanging things. Okay, if you ever hang anything that's of any weight, like if you ever hang cabinets, which I'm sure most of you probably won't, but anything of any weight should be hung from studs. Watch my video, and that's what this is. This can help you locate wood behind your walls, behind your sheetrock. These really are not that expensive, so if that's something that you might be doing, these are very handy to have. Okay, not a necessity, so I would definitely put that lower on your list. Next, I have a level. Okay, if you can see in there, there's 3 different bubbles, and they are for, depending on which way you are trying to find a level. Okay, so these are really helpful, again, when you're hanging pictures, or even for something bigger, like when you're leveling a fridge or your washing machine. I have a giant, I wouldn't even call this giant, we have a bigger one than this, but this is a 3-foot level versus a teeny tiny little level. This one fits really nice in my bag, so this is why I keep that one with me. But you know, if I was trying to use this up here, I might put this up here and I can see right away that my one door is off level. So it kind of helps me, but I can see overall that my bubble in the center was right in between the 2 lines here in the middle. And that tells me that my item is level. Okay, as long as my bubble's right in the middle like that, then I'm doing well. So that's what that thing's for. Again, like if you're hanging multiple pictures and stuff, it works really, really well for that. So I like having levels. If you only have one level, I would say go for this over this. This actually came for free. I can't even remember, something I bought off Amazon. So of course it was something I just kept and chucked it in my bag, but something this size is much better. This is really chintzy, and honestly, I can't believe it's made it all these years. So buy something that's good quality and it'll last you a lifetime when it comes to tools. Okay. Next thing I have, again, none of these brands are sponsored by anybody. So this is just a Masterforce. It's a cheaper brand from Menards, I think. We go through saws pretty quickly around here. We tend to do a lot of stuff with wood. with trees and stuff. So having just a cheapy little saw like this works really well for us. If you live in an apartment, don't bother. Okay, this is not something you're gonna need. But if you have a house, you never know when you have a tree branch that might break partially off, and having this over a chainsaw is a much cheaper option. Okay, so just a good thing to have. That's something I don't keep in my bag. Definitely doesn't fit. Okay, so let's talk about just regular hand tools. Okay, it's my little baby hammer. Okay, you can spend hundreds of dollars on a hammer, I've been told by my brother-in-law who's in construction. I think this was $10. It's Tool Shop, so cheapy brand from Menards again, I think. But it does the job for pounding nails into a wall. And that's typically what I use hammers for. Then you want to have at least one good screwdriver. The reason I like this one is because I can pull the end out and it flips from what's called a Phillip head. Again, that's the one that has the multi-pointed end, to a flathead screwdriver. So that's called a flathead versus a Phillip head, okay? But there are lots of different sizes in this, like I showed you in that box. So you can have like very fine point Phillip heads, you can have very thick point flat heads, all sorts of different kinds. So if you can get one like this that allows different heads to fit in it, then you're golden, because you can fit a lot of different things in it. So this one does that. I've got a thinner, smaller set on the other end, so that's why I like this, because I've got, 4 options in one here. So good screwdriver to have. Okay, you never know when you might need a screwdriver. Then let's talk about pliers and wrenches. Okay, I've got 3 different things here. First one, my girly ones. These are needle nose pliers because they come to a fine point at the end. They're really good for getting in tighter spaces, okay? And they also, if you see when they close here, there's a center piece here where you can actually cut wire and things like that. Smaller things can be cut in the center there, but you can use this for pinching things and pulling on them, okay? Pliers, you ply on them. This is a different set of pliers that are adjustable, but they can only go, so far, but another good thing to have if you need to pull on things. And then one last type, this one's really good if you're doing any kind of plumbing, but you adjust it just this way, just by turning this little knob. And so this tends to be better for hex nuts, things that are flat on 2 sides. So you can fit this around it and then you can crank on it. Whereas these can kind of fit anything, that it can grip around. Okay, so that's what those are. Then I have, these are called Allen keys. This is a prime example of why you put things away after you start using them. You can see I'm missing one in the center there, but these just pop out by twisting and pulling. And these are all different size heads here. See if I know what I'm doing. And honestly, like the most often I feel like I'm using these is for furniture, just assembling furniture, chair legs and things like that. But it seems like every single one is a different size. The other time I also tend to use it is on faucets. Like if you feel like your faucets are wiggly, if you look like down around on the sides of them and stuff, usually it's going to be like one of these teeny ones, but you'll put this in there and just turn it a little bit. There's a teeny tiny little screw in there, and you can turn it and tighten it so that it stays on there tighter. But yeah, some of them are in inches though, and some of them are in millimeters. So it's best if you actually have both sets, because for some reason you can buy products that need both of them in the US, which is not really helpful for us, but they are pretty cheap, handy to have around. So that's something I definitely recommend as well. A putty knife. We're not really great about cleaning ours off. As you can tell, it's got a lot of compound on it, but this is just good. Sometimes you need to like scrape things off. If you spill cleaning things off of a countertop, or I don't know, it's just good to have something you can scrape. That's not like, this isn't knife sharp, but it's sharp. Okay. This is actually meant though for applying compound when you're spackling walls, which is like the white gooey stuff you put on after you've taped your walls, if you know anything about that. Then again, this is for people who own their own homes or are old enough, 18, living out on their own, but I do keep a little pocket knife with me because you just never know when you might need to cut something. Be careful with these, of course. Keep them away from children. Only use them as they're intended to, right? But, you know, it's always good to keep things to be able to cut other things with. So I have that, but then I also do keep a regular pair of scissors and a tiny pair of scissors. These are pretty sharp on the end, so that's why they have a little cover. But I just keep these because honestly, I tend to use them a lot, even when I'm over at friends' houses. So it's just best to come with your own stuff when you're helping other people. And then moving from scissors onto tape, you know, everywhere I was reading to also said duct tape. We never use duct tape in our house. I don't know why. We just don't. Scotch tape, painter's tape. Painter's tape can go on almost anything and not ruin it, which is why I love it. Same with Scotch tape. So these are just the tapes I tend to bring with me places. And if people want to use duct tape, they can. That's fine. I also keep, this is just a super glue. Again, not sponsored by anybody, but it's just a super glue I like to use. Like to have that with me in case of things. And then we're kind of down to the last things here. This is my high-tech baggie here. This baggie has, this kind of shows I'm a mom. It has a few different sizes of pins, because you just never know. It has several different sizes of screws, a few different sizes of nails, and it has some of these. If you ever hang things, I really like this option for hanging. I'll show you. This is a hanger piece. Let's see if I can find something that actually works with it. So you take a nail, you go through the hole there at the top, like this, and then this sits on the wall like this, through the wall, and then you hang your picture on here, and it just feels a lot safer than just putting it on a nail. And you can find these at Home Depot or Menards, but I have a few of these in my little bag of goodies here too. And then I also keep tweezers, because you guys, I can't tell you how many times like things have dropped down the drain and that kind of stuff. So tweezers is a good thing. And I also just have a set of, this is Velcro. Never know when you might need some Velcro. So this is just a lot of like little, it's my baby junk drawer, honestly, is what it is. Okay, so that's what that is. And last but not least, flashlight. I mean, let's be honest, you could use what's on your phone, but you don't want to kill your phone battery. So that is what I have. Oh, and I missed a couple things. I do keep, this is just a giant rubber band in case of, you know, who knows what. And this is just a Velcro version of that as well. So this kind of stuff doesn't take up any space, and I like to just be over prepared, especially like I said, if I'm going to someone else's house to help them with things. I like to bring too much rather than not having enough. So again, remember, if you have an apartment, you probably don't need as much stuff because you're not going to be making all the holes. You're not going to be fixing things. But if you do have your own home, then it is your obligation, right, to keep your home up in good shape, to keep things well maintained. So it's better to have things like this bag on hand so you can repair things as they happen rather than having to run out and buy things, you know, just on the fly. It kind of takes the stress out of it. So if you have any questions, concerns, as always, leave them in the chat, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Keep watching for more videos. Thanks.